Okay, yes, we're back. And so hopefully, sorry guys, hopefully you'll be able to figure this out. The screen is going to be backwards for this. I don't know why, sorry about that. But what I'll do is I'll just briefly remake this video tomorrow with the screens in the right places, but you'll get the idea today. It's pretty simple, so. Okay, so let's see. We got 14 people, and everybody can hear me again? Okay, so I'm going to start showing you the screen, and the screen will be backwards, but you'll get the idea. So here I'm going to switch over to the main screen, and I will figure this out later. And so here we are backwards. And so what we have is we have Openmediavault installed, and right here is you can see it's OMV4. And so what we're going to do is first we're going to go over to this page, and it's a post on the Openmediavault forums, and it is why you should or should not use Dockers. And you're going to scroll down, and here you can see that there are a bunch of different Dockers that were not ported over to OMV5. And so what you need to do is we're going to take those away. And so I'll show you how to do that right now. And so on my backward system here, you can see I have a whole ton of things installed. And so what we're going to do is look at our plugins. So we'll click on plugins. And if we look over here to what plugins were ported, we can see something like Show in the Box. If we go down to that, it's gone. And so that is something that if we have installed that, we want to remove it so then it doesn't cause problems later. Okay, so basically I have installed almost all the Dockers, or all the plugins, excuse me. And so if you look here, you can see I have backup, flash, remote, union, apt, auto shutdown, Borg, download, fail to ban, locate, NFS, Openvpn, remote, rsnapshot, rsync, symlinks, WOL. Okay. So not all these plugins actually switch over to OMV5. And so we're going to look at another page. And again, it will be backwards. So sorry about this, but you'll see it in a second. And this page is ETA for OMV5. And you're going to go to page 2, go down to this posting, which is posting number 38. And you can find the 38 right there. And so what you'll see is this is a way to update from OMV4 to OMV5. Now, basically over the last, say, like since Friday, I have upgraded OMV4 about like 40 times. And so this posting almost works, but not quite. And I'll just show you a couple things that you need to change in order for it to work completely. And so the first thing we need to do is open up PuTTY. And so here you can see our server is, for me, it's 192.168.8.188. Put that information here and then click open. And then yes. And now we're going to log into PuTTY as root. And then our server password. And then hit enter, and so now we're logged into our server. So the thing that I notice here is this first part here doesn't exactly work right, and I'm not quite sure why yet, but we're looking into that. But you can use it to find the different things that you need to uninstall before you move on. So, and there's also one thing that's not working. So if we go to this box right here, the one that is not working that should is auto shutdown. And there it is there. And you click on that right there, and we're going to uninstall that. And yes. And then click done and reload. Oops, and refresh. We have to log in again. And the other two that are on my server that don't work are Openvpn. And if we go back to this list right here, it says actually Openvpn is ported, but it's actually not. So that's why we have to remove it. So we go back to plugins, type in Openvpn. Click that and uninstall. Oh, actually, we're going to click no for a second. And the other one I have is let's see. Well, actually, we'll just uninstall that first. Then click close. We have to reload again. Click OK. Refresh the page. Okay, good. So now we have two down. And the last one was, here, let's take a look here. I've been going back and forth with Aaron about this for a few days here. So, and the last one is remote desktop. And so go back to plugins, remote desktop. There it is. Click on that and uninstall. And yes. Good. And so we got some nice comments so far. And so let's see. Hi from Belgium. Thank you, Herman. And yes, it's Docker. Had installed the latest OMV, but not able to get the Wi-Fi to work. I'm going to guess you're on a Raspberry Pi. And so what you need to do is go to the command line and type in OMV-first aid. And then you should be able to get it to work. And yes, Tony, you can SSH from Windows, but I like PuTTY better, so it works for me. And I've installed Pi-hole AIF. It works, but it's wonky. I may not have it to configure it correctly because I have no access to the web admin. Okay, so I don't know why you don't have any access to web admin, but that's a very important thing. Okay, and I thought you guys could see me, but I guess not, so sorry about that. Good. If you're using Mac VLAN and kernel, blah, 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 that's the reason why. Yep. And so on the Raspberry Pi, it's actually easier if you do Raspbian and then update the kernel to the latest kernel, and then it will work for you. So good, yes. I like Duckers too. Okay, so now let's go back to where we were there. Again, we're back to this section here. And we're going to open up PuTTY. And so first we're going to just copy this. And then paste it there. And it should show that there's nothing to uninstall. Good. Next, we're going to copy the next 3 sections, and this is going to change our sources list, or 4 sections there. Just copy that, paste that there, and then hit enter. That's done. And next is apt-get update and apt-get upgrade. Copy those 2, paste that there. I can see you only. So what? We can't L your cream. Oh, sorry. I'm not used to going back and forth here. But like I said, we'll upgrade this. So again, going over here, so I just copied this part. Oops, the first part here. And pasted that there. That was the first part. And then we just did these next 2. Now I'm on apt-get's distribution upgrade and hit enter. And then yes. Okay, and sad but true says this bug isn't only on the Raspberry Pi, it's also on AMD 64 as well, with the latest kernel. Okay, great. Thank you for that update. Good. And let's see, who is the farthest person away? I'm in New York. Where is everybody else from? I saw a few people earlier. Let's see, I think we had, oh yeah, Belgium, and the ones that I lost, Romania, Croatia, you guys are pretty far away. Do we have anybody from Australia, Dubai, Wisconsin, France, Spain, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, Ohio, Scotland, Portugal, UK, Quebec, Germany? Nice. Well, welcome to everybody. More Spain and Wisconsin. We have a few people from Spain here. Spain is a very popular country for me for some reason. And I think that's our second Denmark there. A couple of Germanys. Toronto. Yeah, my wife is a Canuck too, so she was from Toronto originally. India, another Wisconsin, more Germany. Very good. And you can see this says it's going to take an hour, but it's actually not going to take an hour. It takes about 5 minutes. Good. It's 12:52 a.m. here in India. Well, Anju, thank you for staying up for this. Yeah, better to use 5.40 instead. Jive Master 2005. Hi in Sweden. Where in Sweden do you live? I lived in Sweden for a year when I was in college on Öland. So I went to Ölands Folkhögskola. Good. And so now we're down to 46 seconds. And we're back to Stockholm. You're in Stockholm, Jive Master. Yeah, Öland, yes. We got someone from Belarus. Sorry, I don't read that alphabet. And now it says we're at 31 minutes, but it's not going to take that long. See, it already went down to 7 minutes. Ankur from India, South Africa. I don't, Medudzuji, John. Slovakia, we have a couple people from Slovakia. Anchor, thank you for watching my videos. And sad but true, did you play Q2 in Savage? from Remember Old-Fashioned Trousers. I have no idea what that means. Okay, so now it's extracting. And so here, these are different things you got to be aware of. So we're going to say no to a Wins DHCP. Oops, I have to get on that thing here. And okay to key map, don't touch key map. Don't allow unprivileged users for web dev. And then here we're going to say no to keep the defaults. And then we're going to say yes to restart services automatically. And so Chuck asks, will Docker work after this upgrade? Yes, it will, because basically we're going to be reinstalling Docker for it to work. Oh, we have someone from Poland. I was once in love with a Polish girl a long time ago. And Norman asks, is there a way now to boot Raspberry Pi 4 from SSD? Can't wait to build new OMV5 on SSD. And as far as I know, there is. So basically, there's just a few commands you can do, and you can just look at those in the regular, just Google booting a Raspberry Pi from SSD, and you'll find the commands for that. And so late to Matthews, like, I missed so much of the stream. Well, what we're going to do is just keep on going here. We're going to say no to that. Pretty much, we're going to say no to everything and just keep the standard things that are done here. And Matthew, we're going to be going back over the things as we do it because my screen is backwards. So I'll redo this a little later so you can see everything. Anchor says, would you visit India someday? Yes, if I have someplace to stay. So if you want me to come visit, just invite me. We were just in Thailand in the fall. We're probably going to go to Cambodia or Sweden or both this next year. How many people have Raspberry Pi 4s now? And we're just going to say, again, no to everything. If you have a Raspberry Pi 4, put that in the comments. And no again. Good, so we're just catching up. And if you guys haven't noticed, the Raspberry Pi 4s just went on sale. So now they are much cheaper than what I paid. I paid actually a little premium above what it was because I got one of the first ones, which don't do, just wait a few months and then you get a much cheaper one. Okay, and so here we're going to keep local version. Again, say no for defaults. And if you guys want to know this process, if you just do it straight, like what I'm showing you here, just takes about 15 minutes. So, and again, don't really follow the skip this app get purged because we might have an error here. So we'll see in a second. So, okay, to grub bootloader. Okay, now on this screen, what you want to do is hit you can use your up and down arrows. And then to highlight something, you want to press your space bar. And so now that's where our bootloader is going to be on our first disk. Click OK. And again, defaults. Pretty much you want the defaults on everything. So it's pretty simple to remember what to do. And Danguchi, yes, I will be going back over at the end how we did everything. So just hold on for a few minutes. Goods. And mostly what you're doing here is just babysitting this because it's mostly automatic. They did a really good job of this. Just some of the, it's actually changed over the last few days. It's gotten a lot better, but still that apt-get purge statement isn't quite right, which I think we'll see in a second. And if you look behind here, you can see we had a server area there because we're updating the server, so don't worry about that. And if you have your screen up on your server, what you can see is it will say, when you're updating, it will have a lot. Don't worry about that. Okay, so now we're done with that part. And so next thing we have to do is reboot. Hit enter. And if you look at a screen attached to your server, it's going to reboot there. And so the advantage to OMV5 or OMV4 is OMV5 seems to be more stable, plus they've updated some of the features. Okay, so now we're rebooted, so we're going to close PuTTY. And then we can open it again really quick because we have it's saved here. Going to log in again, roots, OMV server, hit enter. And now we're going to apt-get purge, Openmediavault extras, and resolve config. And so you actually can leave resolve, but you have to change a few things. I have a post on that, which was information from somebody else. And then we're going to hit enter. And I'll show you guys all the posts there too. And yes. And it recommends we reboot, so we're going to hit enter. And it says here, errors while processing Openmediavault extras. You don't need to worry about that one. Type in reboot again. And then you can see our machine reboot again. So we're going to close this. And the nice thing about PuTTY is you can just load something. And then as soon as it's rebooted, I can do it. Yes, sad but true, mostly under the hood changes. Yes, and it upgraded the Debian version. Whoop. Okay. So we're going to log back in as roots, and then OMV server again, or whatever you're, yeah. Okay, so log back in into your OMV server. There we go. Having trouble talking. Okay, and then we're going to copy wget down to bash, and this is the script that reinstalls Openmediavault extras, and will upgrade your plugins. Hit enter. Oh, and Fensho Lu, don't quite understand what your thing is except for independence. Oh, independence for Hong Kong, yes. Okay, that part happens pretty quickly. And then we're going to copy apt-get update, apt-get upgrade, or distribution upgrade, hit that in there. And then distro upgrade. And everything is all set. So now we're going to go back to our Openmediavault. And we're going to refresh this page and then log back in again. Hit enter. And so here you can see the system information isn't there. What you actually have to do is clear your browser data. So clear browser data. And click OK, and then refresh the page again. Log back in again. And there's our user information, and now we're on OMV5. If you look right here, that's OMV5. Okay, good. So yes, so Adam says you can use hypervisor. Yes. I just use VirtualBox because it's on my Windows machine, but we're going to be, in a few weeks, hopefully, we're going to be, I have a server. I left a question on the channel about upgrading or putting two servers, i3 or i7, in a server box. And so basically I'm going to do both. I have some parts to order still, but it's on the way. Good. Oh, and why I use VirtualBox. So that's probably a good question here. So basically why that is because I figure out how to do things on this channel. And so once I figure it out, then I make a video about it. And so, for example, this OMV4 to OMV5, you can follow the guide over here to the side, but you'll see I asked a bunch of questions because at first the guide didn't work. And actually the guide still has a few problems because some things don't uninstall or something like that. So this version, basically from Friday, I spent about 6-7 hours just trying to update OMV4. I probably did it 20 times on Friday, probably another 20 times yesterday. And even today, I was still doing it because these directions right here didn't work completely, and I had to figure out why. So today, I probably reinstalled it and did it about 5 times today. So if you use something like VirtualBox, for me to figure out something, I can just keep redoing it till it actually works. And then once I know how it works, then I can put it on some hardware. So good. And so Adam says it would be good to put out the difference between a migration and straight install. The migration idea is to leave your settings and customizations in place. Yes, and so that's right. So basically, if you upgrade, everything will be there for you, okay? Minus those few plugins that are not carried over to OMV5. If you just do a new install, then you just have a clean system. You have to redo everything right away, which is okay too. If you have something like speaking of ZFS, so if you install the Proxmox kernel to use ZFS, like I showed in one of my videos, this will probably not work. So I don't recommend it for people who use Proxmox. So just the word of warning there, okay? And yeah, and so before you start this, so old-fashioned trousers there says you should always back up. So basically, anytime you do this, first back up all your data. Okay, you are backing up your data, aren't you? You should be if you're not. Before you do anything, so just in case the worst happens, then you do not have a problem. Okay, so always back up your data first. And then you can do a couple different things. If you have a Raspberry Pi, you can just pull out your SD card and copy that. So you have a backup of that before you upgrade it. And for if you have a PC x86, you can use something like some other backup programs to do that, which, Clonezilla or other things to clone your disk. And if you want to know where those are, if you go to OMV Extras and you go through the different things, there's the Docker. So we would have to reinstall Docker here. There's Cockpit. But if you go over to kernel, see, there's the Proxmox kernel I talked about, which again, if you update your system, if you have Proxmox kernel installed, it probably won't work. But if you go down here, there's Clonezilla, so you can clone your disk, gparted, and then there's, this is for your partitions, and then there's a system rescue down below if you get really in trouble. So most people seem to forget about these, but they're pretty easy to do. You just follow the directions. So. Gammon Meet Bessie says, why is OMV5 so incredibly slow? Like its UI is incredibly slow. I don't know. Mine is not. It actually seems a little faster. And yeah, you can see it just changes like normal. And again, you can see I have pretty much every plugin imaginable possible here. What system are you using, Gammon Beat Bessie? Are you on a Raspberry Pi or a x86 machine? And then Sean also says you can use ZFS without the Proxmox kernel on Openmediavault, and yes, you can. It's easier to set up if you use the Proxmox kernel. That's why I've used it in the past. Yep, and Adam, I will provide links to everything that I mentioned here in the description. I just had a few problems at the very beginning of this, so that's why it's basically I was panicking there for a few minutes as this was going on. So not my greatest effort here, but this is my first time doing this. So I will leave links in the description to the appropriate posts, and I'll actually tell you my directions, which are a little different than in the post, because the post directions didn't actually work for me. There were a few extra steps there. And that seems to be something on the forums a lot of times, is people leave out steps because they just do it automatically, which is not on purpose, but sometimes they just know things and they do them, whereas other people don't. So good. So you have an AMD FX 2180. So let's see. Ooh, so that's a pretty old CPU, but it's 8-core, so it should be working okay. And yeah, so Gammon Meet Bessie. So why don't you post your configuration to the Openmediavault forums, and then we could probably figure out what's going on there. So, and I'll just say this, the Openmediavault forums are a great resource. So if you haven't already, make sure you go there. Couple things when you post to the forum. So make sure you just don't post and say, this doesn't work, or this is too slow, or this sucks. Okay, that is not a really great way to get help. So what you should do is give as much information as possible. And so say someone like Gammon Meet Bessie. So what I would do is first do screenshots. So if you go to Openmediavault, and go to your, that's not what I want, dashboard. And so here you have your basic information, and it will show what services are running and what system you are. So you can take or first of all, you can expand these so you can see everything. Take a screenshot of this, and so then people can see what you're running, and they can see, oh, he's on OMV5, okay? And then in great detail, show what's going on. So if you can, so say you have an error here. What you can do is in Windows, get the screen snipping tool, and then click New. And then you can just copy the terminal, and then you have a picture of it, and then you can save that and then post it in the forums. And so down below in the forums, say you want to create a new post, you hit reply. I'll just show you that here. Oops. There's the reply button. Oops, and because I logged out, I have to log back in. Okay, let's do that first. Okay, so let's go back there. Okay, if we go back down to the bottom here and scroll over a little bit, again, there's this reply button, okay? And so what you want to do is hit reply, and then you can see there's attachments, and then you can upload an attachment. And so let's do this. And so here's just a random thing. You can open that up, and then it gives you a preview of it. And then you can either, I would just hit full image all the time, or you can delete it. And then that will show up here, and then that makes it much easier to figure out what's actually going on. Okay, so let's see. Yes, and Cyrillic person says there's no local DNS plugin. And if we go over here, and let's see how it is supposed to be used, I can't find it right now, is that now you can do that with Docker. So that's your choice there. I had an error with Docker Starter, ended up joining the Docker Starter Discord group. It says something wrong, the YQ version. I'm staying at OMV version 4.5 until 5 gets stable. So Docker Starter, so they haven't actually, oh, Gaman, so I'm just wondering what the problem is with Docker Starter. I haven't run into any problems with OMV5, and I actually installed Docker Starter on OMV5, so I'll be interested in that. Running AdGuard at home test. ATM isn't bad either, but well, if you want, use DHCP. Also, this to basic ATM, it works well, but it's basic. Okay, can you save the stream on your channel, please? Yes, I will. And I had a weird issue with, Sean said, I had a weird issue with Ryzen 240GE with 4.19 kernel, specifically with ZFS and media transcoding. Once I moved to kernel 5.3, all issues went away. I would upgrade when you get a chance. Okay, I haven't had any problems with Ryzen so far, but I will definitely upgrade in the future. Good. Okay. And so now just a recap. So for the people who came late, so where we want to go first is you want to go to the Openmediavault forums, why you should or should not use Dockers. And then you go down to number, let's see, where is it? Number 6. You can see the number 6 is right there. Okay. So any of the plugins on here that are in blue are not going to be carried over to OMV5. So you need to uninstall those. Okay. And also there's a couple ones with problems. So the auto shutdown plugin causes problems. So I recommend that you uninstall that beforehand. And let's see. Let's see. And then next, what you would do is here, I'll start up a new virtual machine here. So we're just going to shut this down. And you guys don't use virtual machines. They're really great, so we'll get rid of that. Yes. And so here we can just copy it. Just takes a few seconds. Good. Still no ISC-SI like with OMV4. Ketal, M. Martunusen. I don't use that, but if you say it's not, that's probably true. So it's blue, then you get started. Okay, and so once that's up and running, if you don't know your IP address, well, you can just log in. And then your password or server password. And then you can type in IP ADDR. And so here you can see my local server is 192. Here, let's see if we can do it this way. Oop. There we go. So my server IP address is 192.168.8.195. So we're going to go up here, put in 195, hit enter, then log in. And again, so any plugin that is over here, we want to get, that's not over there or is in blue, or those two that I mentioned, you want to get rid of. Do personally think OMV5 is better. I use OMV5, enjoying it, but it's slightly annoying how many Dockers, etc., haven't been carried over. So what you're talking about is plugins, not Dockers. And so if you look over here, so I'll give you an example here. So these plugins haven't been carried over. And that's because there is a Docker that can be used for it. So for example, I did a Caliber video using Docker. Duplicati, I just did a video on that. MB, I've done a video on. Let's Encrypt, I've done a video on. And so basically all these have Dockers that get updated regularly. The problem with the plugins is individual people have been maintaining those, and then they sort of come and go. And so then they just don't get updated anymore. And so then eventually they die. So for the example, like the Plex media server, the plugin for that is really old in OMV4. There's quite a bit new versions of that. So Docker is definitely the way to go for that. Okay, and then again, so we want to get rid of those plugins that are not over here. And so again, First we have to start out with the one that doesn't work, which is auto shutdown. And so, whoops, auto shutdown, and click on that. And then the two other ones that were having problems, or I left in there, and they were, let me scroll down over here. Openvpn. And so again, Openvpn is over here in the red, but it's ported but not tested. And so it does not work. So you want to get rid of that one. So we're going to type in Openvpn. Click on that. And then my other one was remote desktop. And I missed that one. So remote desktop, oh, not remote mounts, remote desktop says to use a Docker for that. And so let's get over here. And so we click on that, and then we can uninstall all three of those, and yes. And Gammon, so yeah, if you're having any problems with anything, go to this post on the OMV forums. It's ETA for OMV5 right there. So just Google that, post any problems you have to that, rather than here on YouTube. Okay. And Robert likes Pi-hole. Yes. Hi, thanks for the stream. I'm using OMV4 with the Plex plugin. Is there a way to save the database, import it to Docker Plex? Yannick, there is. I have not done that myself. What you should do is go to the OMV forums, because I have seen that question asked. So, okay, next we're going to go back to page 2. And then go down to 38, I think it is. There it is. Okay. And so where the 38 is there, so we're on the ETA for OMV5 and post 38. And so again, like what I said, for some reason, the 3 plugins that I mentioned don't work. And so even when you put in the script, it doesn't work. So just delete those automatically. Everything else seems to work. We're going to close this and restart it. So we are at 185. So we're going to save that. And I really do suggest that you save your configuration, because you have to reboot a couple of times during this process. Click open. And here, let's try that again. Without Docker. Let's see. Guli, for example, my Plex server with NVIDIA transcodes to RAM, etc. works like a Swiss watch, and I'm running last Plex releases. Good. Without Docker, I mean. So there is not a, well, you can, so Gilly, I'm going to say, Gilly says, can you run Plex on your server without Docker? Yeah, you can just download the Debian deb and just run it as a server separately, and which is fine. It's just, I find easier to manage in a Docker. And so you're talking about the NVIDIA drivers, and as soon as I get my new server set up, I have a NVIDIA card that I'm going to put into it. First, I have to buy a case for it. And so I'll be showing how to use the NVIDIA drivers with the Plex Docker. Oh, and I typed in the wrong IP, so thank you for that. So let's see. 192.168. Oh, I put 8.5 instead of 9.5. Thanks for that. Okay, now let's try. Okay, so first you click yes, and then you log into your server. Hit enter. Oops, and of course I typed in the wrong password. Let's try that again. I cannot talk, look at a screen, and type at the same time. So one thing you will notice is that I am a terrible typer. Oh, did I do the wrong thing again? Okay, I didn't say that. Try again. Okay, so what I should have done, put 9.5 in, click save, and then open. There we go. Log in as roots, and your server password. Okay. Now, if you've took care of those 3 plugins, then you can just copy this, paste that in again, hit enter. That will get rid of those. And don't worry about those 3 things. Then copy the next 4 lines here. Whoops, you have to copy everything. And actually, I copied update too, so it's going to update when I hit enter. Okay, good. Yes, I see that. I have a question. So Connor says, struggling to find an answer to maybe you can help. If I move house and get new internet there, do I have to reinstall OMV5 or can I change some settings? You can definitely use your OMV5 as is. It depends on your router. If you have a DHCP router, then that will be fine. If you get a new IP address and it's a fixed address, then you can change that in Openmediavault. Good. And now we're going to do apt-get upgrade. And then click yes. And then this will take a few minutes. And yes, I forgot to save. John says, will there be a OMV5 NGI Nginx with Portainer? Maybe. So what I tend to do is, so like this video, I did not plan really a long time ago. I just sort of got obsessed with updating OMV4 to OMV5. And so then I just kept on doing it over and over again, and I announced that I was going to do it. And like I said, I probably did it 20 or more times on Friday, 20 or more times on Saturday, and probably like 10 times today. That's why I can do it pretty quickly. If you do follow the directions exactly as I said, it takes 15 minutes or less to do this. So not too bad. Good. Sad but true. Too slow. I don't know what that's about. Good day. David Stevenson says, looking to build an OMV server. Any idea how many drives OMV can support utilizing ZFS and the maximum single pool size for a single pool? I don't know what the single pool size can be. I don't think there's any limitation that's beyond what ZFS can normally do. And so you can put in as many disks as you have room for. If you have a card, you can add more in. So most servers, they just have room for 4, but then you have to get a card to plug in more drives for your server, which I was just thinking about doing because I have like all these old hard drives sitting around. So I have them from like people's computers I take apart and things like that. So in my build, I'm just going to be putting in a bunch of different sized old hard drives into pools of the different sizes and then going from there. Good. And let's see. Rodrigo Lorazda. Cool, love your channel, learned a lot with you. Kudos from Brazil. Thank you, Rodrigo. And you live in a beautiful country. I hope to visit one day. So no, David Watson says no VirtualBox in OMV5. Will it be coming? No, it will not. It will be where you find that is here. If we go over here, and let's see, VirtualBox right there. It's in Cockpit. So you have to install Cockpit for that. And so again, say no to DHCP for Windows. Okay, keep the key map. No, we don't want to have unprivileged users. And now pretty much for everything, we're just going to say no, which means we'll keep the defaults. For this one, restart, we're going to click yes, because that means we don't have to hit enter about 3 or 4 times. Yep, so David Watson, so that's in Cockpit. And so you'll see that in a second as soon as we get reinstalled again. Good. Connor, great channel. By the way, you've taught me loads about OMV. I'm new to this and needed more storage. And this has helped loads. Well, glad to help you, Connor. Why do you need so much storage? Hit enter for that. Matthew Fitzpatrick, will the procedures for remotely accessing your OMV differ in 5? I haven't been able to successfully access mine yet. I really haven't had the time to troubleshoot. That should be exactly the same. So again, if you're having problems, any particular problems, the OMV forums are great, lots of helpful people. Just Google your problem first so you get an idea, because probably somebody else has already had the problem already. And then take screenshots of everything. So again, how you take a screenshot in Windows is you hit the search button, type screen, and then you get the snipping tool, and then hit new, and then you can take a screenshot. Okay, good. VirtualBox, sad but true, says VirtualBox works with Debian 10.3 and you have Cockpit to admin it. Okay. Good. David Watson, thank you so much. Great channel. Thank you, David. And Rod says, hey, does anyone know why I can't see the shared folder on my Raspberry Pi 4? I had to start all over with my Raspberry Pi 4. I had to set up OMV again. Now I can't see the shared folder. And so could be a couple different reasons, J-Rod. And so actually I have 2 or 3 videos about Windows sharing. So I would suggest those. It could be for a number of different reasons. It could be a Windows reason, or it could be how you've set up your Raspberry Pi, or your OMV on Raspberry Pi. So again, I'm just hitting enter for the default on these as we're going through. I have Connor says I have 1.5 terabytes on my computer. All right, let's see. But my games take up most of it. I don't want to keep deleting and reinstalling them, so I use NAS for storing my films, photos, files, etc. Yes, that's what I do too. Please Pi hole in the container. Okay, Rami. Good. Is there a need for Blacker King? Is there a need for updating OMV? I use a AMD 3000G. Maybe a new kernel could handle a little better, a little smoother. Is there any other thing? Before we answer that, we have to hit OK. I think there's another one coming up. There it is, default. Yeah, so basically the interface, or what you see, isn't going to really change that much. Hit OK again. But the behind the scenes things will get things working better. So I don't have your particular chipset, so I can't tell you about that. So here you hit OK. And so now on this screen, so basically you pick the disk where you're going to have Grub installed, use your arrows to go up and down, and then hit the space bar to mark it, and you can see there's a little star there. Hit enter, and then enter again. Is it worth it to virtualize OMV at all in any scenarios? Yeah, so if you're like me and change things all the time, it's good to have OMV virtualized, because then you can experiment and just destroy the system and restart it again. Or if you have a big enough server with enough memory, you can run it with other things. So instead of having Pi-hole run on Openmediavault, which is a valid way of doing it, then you can have that as a separate process running. So they're independent, but they run on the same server. And you can do that with a couple different things. So you can even make a virtual router if you want to do that too. Good. On AMD 3950, everything works great. So OMV5 for me is a winner. Great to hear that, Stanek. J-Rod says, cool, thanks for the reply. I love the channel, and I would be lost and not know what to do if it wasn't for you. Thanks. And so if you guys don't know why I do my channel, is because basically there's no videos about how to do this. And so sometimes the information in the forum, again, great people, sometimes it's a little brief though. Okay, so before we get there, so our next step is to reboot. So I'll show you what's going to happen on the server. Just ignore these messages, hit enter. And then our server will reboot in a second. It's taking its time. When it's updating, you'll see all these errors down here, but that's not anything to worry about. So, and I think this is on a delayed reboot. Let's see. Oh, it didn't do it. Try that again. There we go. Now it's rebooting. Good. Do you have a video showing your own NAS setup? Well, that is a good question, because my NAS setup is like changing all the time. So that's one reason why I spend like 3 days figuring out how to do something, is because I just like figuring out things. My wife loves me for that, because I just research and research and research till something is done. So I have a couple of different servers right now. And so I have 2 or 3 Raspberry Pis, 2 Nooks, an old Lenovo server, which is one of the first videos I made. It's called the $99 server, and I'll leave a link to that below, or you can just Google it. I still have that server. And then the next thing I'm going to do is take my old PC. I don't know if you guys can see it. It's right there underneath that pillow, which is the i7. I've upgraded it to 16 gigabytes of memory. And then what I'm going to be doing is making it so, I'm going to do something which I haven't seen a video on, actually, is making it so it can edit video from the server. And as soon as I set up my rack, I'm going to get some 10 gigabytes network cards, and then have that directly set up to my regular computer I use now. So then I can transcode the videos on the server rather than doing it on my PC, because it takes up time to do it on your PC. Okay, now you close PuTTY, because our server has restarted. Click on PuTTY again. Today, for me, load, open. And then you can see our Openmediavault has failed there, but don't worry about it right now. log into your server again. Okay, so our next step is apt-get purge Openmediavault extras and resolve config. And so for this one, you can leave it there. There are a few extra steps that you need to do, but it just makes it cleaner to do that. And I missed the A. So again, don't talk and copy things at the same time. There we go. Yep. So all you have to do is remove one file and then put in IP address. Otherwise, you won't be able to access the server. But we're going to do it this way. Hit enter, and then yes. Okay, good. So let's see. Yes, Proxmox Rodrigo Lazada. Proxmox works great. I definitely have Openmediavault on Proxmox. And okay, we need the reboot. And if you notice over here on the right in the directions, or at least my right, your left, it looks like, doesn't say anything about rebooting, but rebooting definitely works. So we're going to reboot again. And let's see. Good, my first server runs on RAID 1, so you must have 2 hard drives with the same storage and mirror them. Yes, Robert. Ken0201, not sure why you would want to, but why don't you have to minimum install Debian first, which can be installed on RAID 1 and then install on that. Let's see. So David's, is there any easy way of installing OMV on a RAID 1 setup? Thanks for all the info, great channel. Yeah, so OMV needs to be on a separate disk, which can be just a USB card or USB drive or SD card. So you don't really, so it's sort of like outside, it would be outside of your RAID configuration. So unless you're doing it in Proxmox, like somebody else said there. Okay, so we need to reinstall that or reboot into that. Log in again. And now this next wget is where we install Openmediavault extras. Hit enter. Okay, good. I made my NAS using an old broken laptop. The keyboard battery didn't work, so I added some drives and shoved it on a rack with my network switch, wireless keyboard for controlling it. Works great. That is a great thing, Connor. I actually did a video about that too. And I have people just give me computers because they know I'm the computer person. So I have like 4 or 5 laptops, including an Apple laptop, old one. And I did a video about installing an extra hard drive in a laptop. So you had 2, and then you can run your OMV from a USB drive. And then the screen still worked. It's just the old computer, which nobody wanted. So this is the thing. So if people give you old computers, OMV works great on those things. Those are like the perfect servers. So you don't need like a lot of high-end hardware. You know, people just give you things. And so, like here's another one, which a few years ago I fixed for somebody. And then, you know, it just got too slow for them with Windows on it. It originally had Windows 7 on it. And you can see it's all dusty on the inside. But OMV works great on this. And so I think I'm going to be using this as a server at home. I generally do everything here at work. And then what I'm going to do is hook up Nextcloud here and then have it connect or mirror to Nextcloud at home. So all my media I can mirror to my home one, so then we can watch it at home. Good. Oh, I missed some fun stuff here in the comments. And good. Let's see, Ken02. Thanks for the David G. Stevenson. So yes, first of all, I will be uploading this to YouTube afterwards. Oh, and we're ready again. So that is done. So now it's apt-get update, apt-get upgrade. Copy those two things. Paste it there. Those will start. And then we hit enter to distro upgrade. And so that's all done. And so what I found works best is, again, if you do a reboot before you do this. Good. And Connor says that's exactly how I do it. I have it on a USB drive. The hard drives are for storage, runs perfectly. I've never had an issue. Ran so slow on Windows, but works great on OMV, also using Nextcloud. Yeah. And again, OMV works great on pretty much everything. I think the minimum specs are like 2 gigabytes of memories. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. And as long as you have enough room for the OS to install, you can do it on a single disk. And I did a video about that, how to install OMV on a single disk. Or you can do it on multiple disks. Okay, so now we're rebooted. So let's log in. So 192 for me, 168.8.195. And there's our OMV. Good, so let's log in there. Hit enter. And so here, if this is blank, then what you need to do is actually clear your browser cache. So this is Chrome, so you go to More Tools, and then Clear Browser Data, Clear Data, close that, and then log back in again. Hit enter. And there's our data, and now you can see that our system info, now we're on OMV5. Good. Would the use of pfSense or OpenSense and OpenMediavault be useful? David Watson. So I'm going to be doing a video about that in the future. I have a 4-port video card that I bought. And this little computer here will eventually be my pfSense router. But I was thinking of showing it. I think actually, me thinking about it, probably the best thing to do would be getting an old PC, putting a card in it, and making it the router that way. But I'm going to be doing a video about how you can put pfSense in a Docker and then using it that way. So I'm going to show you how to do it, but I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would probably just recommend getting just an old PC and putting that in there. Excuse me, with another network card. Good. And you guys are talking about storage pools. Yes, and Ken0201 talking about the OS drives, not his data drives, okay? Okay, very good. So I think that was pretty good. Any questions about anything? See, I got a new bunk. My daughter got it for me. Awesome, Dad. Okay. Well, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of talking, too. So do you guys have any questions? My chat's not working at the moment, so well, wait a second. So any questions about OMV5? It's pretty easy to update if you just follow those basic instructions that I found. So basically remove those 3 plugins and then follow those directions, which are over here. Oh, I'll show you again. This is the plugins that are being ported, except for the 3 that are not, that say they are. So you need to get rid of auto shutdown because that just breaks it, even though that says it's ported. And then it was OpenVPN, which says it's ported, but it just breaks things. And then the one I did by accident is remote desktop. So basically, any of the ones in blue do not, you should remove them from your system beforehand. And then anyone, the red ones besides the 2 that I mentioned should work. My chat is not working, so I can't see what you guys are doing. It says unable to connect to chat. Please try again later. So let's see. Good. So I guess that's about it. So if you have any other questions, because I can't see them at the moment, just leave those in the comments. I'll post this video, and then you can post the comments there. So you guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time, and bye-bye.